Hello and welcome to the Mana Flood podcast, the only podcast where the boys decided a hand with 5 lands, an arcane signet, and a soul ring was a good enough hand to start. Get your floaties ready because the episode starts now.
Hello and welcome back to the Mana Flood podcast. I want to say a big thanks to @NomHoney for that amazing intro that she recorded for us. That was super nice. We really appreciate it. It makes us feel a little bit more professional. Today, I shouldn't just go into today. Sorry. Let me introduce your hosts first. I am from the Flood, and this beside me.
And I am Parmesan.
And together, we are the two hosts of the Mana Flood podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with us. We really appreciate it. I don't know if you noticed, but we got a shiny new mic over there. That's really nice. Hopefully the audio quality is much better. Obviously better is what we're hoping for. And today we actually have a little bit of an interesting episode. We're going to start going through the different colors and the different color combinations. And one of those color combinations is just the mono colors. So we're going to go through WUBRG, which if you don't know is WUBRG, which is white, blue, black, red, green. And if you're curious as to why blue is U, it's because it's the first letter that blue and black don't share. So
I thought it was because when people play blue, you gonna be upset.
when people play blue, you not playing the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, that whatever the reason you may believe to be true or not. Yeah, that's why it is. And today we're going to start with the first one, white, mono white. So I guess we'll just kind of hop right into it. What is the color identity of mono white?
White. No.
Shit, you got me.
I got you. No, basically mono white is the color that is produced from the basic lands that are plains.
Okay.
Yeah. Shocker. I know.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's crazy, bro.
Plains are the ones with the little sun on it, if you need us to go that in detail. But we will actually be doing a beginner-only podcast. But that's going to be next episode, actually, probably. We'll get there. We promise we'll get there.
All right. In all seriousness, as I was saying, white is the color produced from the plains basic land type. The allies of white, which you can, believe it or not, find on the back of your magic cards, just so happen to be the color blue and the color green. Its enemies being red and black. Shocker, I know.
The really interesting thing is the way you can see this on the back of the magic card is the ones that are beside the color you're looking at are the allies, and the ones that are across from it are the enemies. So that's a very interesting thing.
Very interesting.
I learned from another very prominent podcast that I listen to all the time. So
I thought we were the only podcast you listened to.
I'm the only podcast I edit.
That's fair.
We're the only podcast I edit, I guess would be the better the better way of putting that.
English is not our strong suit. That is a different Magic the Gathering creator.
Yeah, my first language was gibberish, so you know.
Mine was High Valerian.
That's understandable, I guess.
Again, white is the color that is produced from plains. Its allies are blue and green, and its enemies are red and black. Basically, the essential kind of game plan when playing mono white is to build a big enough board state. Most of the times, I would say that consists of creatures, good land base, some good anthem effects that will buff those creatures. Definitely takes a little bit to get started up. I find how white decks usually play is that they will kind of stay quiet for a little bit and not be the threat until, well, they're the threat.
My favorite kind of deck to play. I love those. I love playing decks that aren't a threat until they're the fucking threat.
Yeah.
Excuse my French.
Very much. If a white deck is left unchecked in any way possible, they are going to swing at you for a lot of damage.
It's going to hurt, and you
A
are
lot.
not going to be particularly happy,
Yes.
to be honest. But that's just the way white works. They're very... when you think white in Magic, the creatures you'd think of, I'd say, are like angels and humans, Esper Sentinel. Which
artifact human soldiers.
Which Esper Sentinel's funny because it's actually one of the cards that doesn't really fit in White's color identity, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
True. I guess cats are also very prevalent in White.
Cats, yes,
Yes.
absolutely cats.
What
Yeah.
else? Birds.
Birds, but
Kind of.
now I think of black when I think of birds because of Maha. Yeah.
Valid. Very
Yeah.
valid.
Maha is not a friend to many, if any. Let's
It's a
be
friend
real
to
here.
me.
He's not. You just want him to be your friend because you want to make sure nobody else is having a very good time.
Correct.
Yeah, I knew it.
Correct.
I knew it. I've played enough Magic with you. I know how you play this
It
game.
is the best kind of way to play Magic. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what are some stereotypes that are surrounding mono-white players? Like the people who play mono-white specifically. What are the stereotypes?
I would say people that play mono white specifically. What I'm gonna say is gonna sound like a little bit of a joke, but it's meant in 100% seriousness. Mono white players are very pretentious, very snobby, in my opinion. You know, they like the finer things in life. Yes.
So they're like, the stereotype would be monocle top hat.
100%.
Indubitably.
Bang on. Mono white players are the kind of people to be very bougie. You know, they will spend $50 on a card, right?
Yeah.
But have a good 1,000 other cards in their library that do the exact same thing, and honestly probably do that thing better, but they bought it because it's pretty, and that's all that matters.
And they buy exclusively the most expensive art.
Correct.
They don't even care if they like it the most. They're just like, it's expensive, and I have money.
This is the oil slicked raised foil extended art. Basic mountain, perfect.
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 I have 30 of them in this deck.
Truly. Even though white has received, a lot of support lately and isn't necessarily seen as the weakest color anymore by many. It
Definitely used to be. I remember when I was building my mono white deck, people were like, this is by far the weakest color. Why are you trying to even bother with a mono white deck? And people have told me that like monocolor decks are bad, you shouldn't build them, but I'm like, bruh, Krenko, Bruvac, they're some of my best and most consistent decks.
truly.
So like, yeah, just don't. Like, don't underestimate the power of monocolored decks, please. They are so strong. They are so powerful.
Yes, very strong, very powerful. Another thing I'm gonna add on is that mono white, in my opinion, is like Copium the player, like Copium personified, truly. Because as we said, even though white's received a lot of support over the years, it's still very much seen by a lot of people as still the weakest color, even though I don't think that's true at all.
No, I don't believe it to be the weakest color
Yeah,
at all.
people will always be like, they can print as much mono white support as they want, card draw, all that stuff that white's not supposed to do. It will still never be as strong as the other monocolors.
Which I definitely don't agree with. I think you can do
Neither.
some nutty stuff in white.
Oh, 100%.
White goes
100%.
infinite so easy.
Yes.
Like compared to the rest of the colors, you can accidentally make infinite combos in white and just go, oh, well, I guess that's my deck now. There's a win con.
But I guess kind of like white players are like, you know what? It's okay if mono white doesn't stack up to be the strongest because I spent $50,000 on my deck.
I have money and it shows in my deck.
You're a trust fund baby and you got hired at your job because of nepotism. I'm sorry.
You did not earn your money. It was gifted to you.
Correct, sir. Correct.
Yeah. I kind of agree. I don't think there are many stereotypes that you missed. Like, I'm a white player. I have a mono white deck.
Oh, same, dude.
And like these stereotypes, when I'm playing white, 100% apply to me.
Oh, for sure, for sure. My mono white deck is like amongst the most expensive of my decks. Like when I whipped it out, I'm like, my father gave me a small loan of $1 million. Okay, very small, very small.
Hardly a drop in the bucket. Yeah, I can't do the accent, but that caught me off guard, dude. Yeah, white is it. A lot of people, and I still don't understand this, people look down on monocolored decks all the time. And to those people, I often beat them with a monocolored deck just to humble them. Just to
100%.
Right? I'll play that monocolored deck until it wins. And it will not take long because they're just going to be like, oh, it's such a trash deck. You play monocolors.
What kind of deck doesn't run shock lanes, bro? What?
Yeah. What do you mean? You've got a Nithcos Shrine to Nyx garbage card. No, it's very strong in monocolored decks.
Excuse me while I tap for 20 white mana. Like, shut up.
Excuse me while I play my Blood Moon in my Krenko deck. I hope you didn't need... I hope you have red in your deck. And a lot of it.
True. Very true.
But anyway, I digress. We're talking mono white,
Yes,
not mono red.
yes.
Mono red is a different episode. That'll be one of the later ones. Okay, so what does mono white actually do the best in Magic the Gathering?
So mono white, in my opinion, has always been seen as a very defensive color, if that makes sense. Meant to protect you, protect your creatures, but essentially just protect your board in general.
Okay.
And I think that stays very true. It has a lot of protection spells, a lot of things that are giving your permanents indestructible, or a lot of things that, not a lot of things necessarily, but some of the stronger cards in white make your permanents like phase out.
Okay, for
and
sure.
they enter the battlefield next turn. White's also very good at taxing your opponent's game plan, so
Fair.
having them pay mana or other things as well, just to kind of slow them down as you're able to build up your board state.
Okay, for sure. Like, white is very good at stacks.
Yes, very good at stacks.
Right, yeah. And yeah, a lot of its cards are straight up just named. They just have tax in the name.
Yeah.
Like land tax. I think Smothering Tithe. I think a tithe is like a kind of tax.
I think so.
I think I should have done like before name dropping Smothering Tithe. Maybe I should have done like the bare minimum of research. I mean, try not to judge me there, but that's my bad. Oopsie doopsie, as the kids say. I've heard that many a time. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So what is white not so great at?
Unfortunately, when white is not very good at things, it's detrimental, truly.
Okay.
White, don't get me wrong, white has removal. You have things like Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, Generous Gift. But that's about it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there's a lot more board wipes in white than there is like actual just like target removal.
And I feel like white does a lot of exile.
A lot of exile.
Right? Like maybe that's probably one of its strengths,
Mhm.
really. But now that I'm thinking about it, like I don't think, other than that one that creates an elephant, I don't think white has much like destroy.
No, it doesn't.
Right? And I cannot remember the elephant one. Is it Generous Gift?
Generous Gift, yep.
Okay. I thought that was the green one, but no, that's Beast Within. So.
Beast Within.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Generous Gift is like the only destruction card in white that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there are more. There are like hundreds of thousands of cards in Magic at this point. 70,000? Something
So
stupid.
many.
There's so many cards in Magic at this point that it's hard to be like, well, I know every card, because I don't. I've been playing for a long time. And white has had the Oblivion Rings that I remember when that came out, and everyone was like, "That card is so strong, dude."
What was the combo? It was like Oblivion Ring Sun Titan or something like that. I can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and there's still some nutty things you can do with like an Oblivion Ring, a board wipe, and then something that comes in and is just huge.
Oh, for sure.
Especially if you have a board wipe and land destruction, because I feel like white is also very good at land destruction. And that scares me. That is frightening.
Embrace it. Embrace it.
Let me guess, you got land destruction in your mono white deck?
Of course.
Yeah.
Check out our last episode.
We have thoughts about land destruction, mass
We
land
sure
destruction in general. So,
more things white are bad at, and it's like I said before, it's quite the detriment. White's bad at drawing cards, and it's bad at ramping. Which, don't get me wrong, both of those things in mono white have seen support like printed for them in recent years. There's definitely a couple cards that have helped them with that, but they are still very much the weakest, especially when it comes to having that card advantage over your opponents and having just a ton of mana.
Well, they're like, off of the top of my head, I can think of two card draw cards for white. One of them is Esper Sentinel.
Yes.
Which is like, it's very strong. Don't get me wrong. Esper Sentinel is an incredible card. It's expensive for a reason. And the other one is a 4-drop dog. It's a common, and when it ETBs, draw a card. I have accidentally murdered myself with this card multiple times in my Preston deck, but we'll talk about that later. But yes, I think it's like Rambunctious Mutt or something like that.
Oh, it's from Kamigawa, right?
I also believe it's from the symbols like cards going around. Jumpstart 2022.
I was like,
it's literally the box is behind me. The box I pulled it out of is behind me. Jumpstart 2022.
It's like,
yeah, it's the dog.
Spirited Companion or something like that.
Yeah, it's a dog. It's adorable. We love doggos. And that one is like, it's not a very good card draw spell unless you can flicker it. And again, you probably don't want to waste a flicker to draw one card unless you have infinite, in which case, be careful because you can kill yourself very easily with that. I've learned this the hard way. I've learned that the hard way. Same with Esper Sentinel. If you get the chance, don't make infinite Esper Sentinels.
I mean, or do.
You just die instantly.
Correct.
It's very funny because when I realized that, I was like, I'm gonna make infinite Esper Sentinels. What are you gonna do? He's like, I'm gonna burn one and then not pay for it. And I was like, shit. That is not a May ability. You have to draw a card. I am now dead. That was a fun game.
Yes.
Magic is a fun game in general.
100%.
But yes, white is, for the most part, not the best at having card advantage. That is probably why blue just kicks it in the teeth.
100%.
It really does.
100%.
I feel like that blue as a color is why a lot of people are like, run multiple colors just so that you have the card draw. But I think everything has some card draw, so if you have a splash of both, it should be not terrible to get cards. But yeah, blue is card draw king. Anyway, white is not. White is bad at card draw. It is not the best at removal. It's not terrible at removal. It has, like we said, it's got a lot of exile spells. I don't think it's particularly terrible.
No.
At removal, but yeah. I guess we'll just move on to our next. What's the word I'm looking for? Our next topic.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. I'm exhausted. It's been a crazy week at work, but and I'm gonna say this now because we just kind of blasted through the opening, and we're kind of blasting through this episode a little bit. This is our second time recording this. The first time I did a fucky wucky, and all of the audio was unusable. It was really, really, really bad. So this is less authentic than the first time we did it, but we have all the same points. We got a laptop. It's all written down. So we're saying roughly the same things. We're just saying them much, much, much faster. Like the first time we did this episode was like an hour and 20 minutes.
It felt like forever.
Yeah. Right now, I think we're maybe 10 minutes in.
We're making good
So
time.
it's like-
good time.
This might be a super short episode, and if it is, we'll just blame it on new equipment because that took like 30 minutes to set up and get working, and it's like jerry rigged together, but it's working.
Yes.
And we're just like, fuck it works. Don't touch it.
Roll the tape. Roll the tape.
Get this recording done. So that is kind of where we are. Anyways, what are some popular mono white commanders, but what I mean is what is the most popular one,
Okay.
and then what's one you play, and then what's one I play.
Okay, cool. I like this. That's cool. Most popular one, and I may have done some research on this, my bad. Is Giada Font of Hope. It is a 1 and a white angel lady, with flying and vigilance that states I can't remember if it's each or each other, regardless. Each other angel enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on them for each angel you control that's on the battlefield.
Oh my god! So it's
which is nuts.
Angels Tribal.
It also taps for 1 white, and that is only to be spent on angel spells, I believe.
Okay,
So-
so that completely makes sense.
Yes. So if you haven't gotten by that description, it's an angel kindred deck. Oh no.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Does it state creatures? Do you know off the top of your head?
I believe it's angels.
So just
Not
angel
creatures.
spells.
Specifically angels, yes.
So that means crib swap in that deck.
Crazy.
Insane.
Maskwood Nexus?
Oh, yeah,
Crazy.
a little bit. Yeah, those
Crazy.
those shapeshifter fucking sorceries and instants.
Crazy.
It's insane. It's
Yep.
it's wild. It's hoo-wah. All right. Yeah. So that's kind of insane.
I don't know why I'm only thinking about this now, but you have like Maskwood Nexus or something along those lines in your Giada deck, right? And you just casually slap in like an Emrakul or like an Ulamog.
That's mean. Oh my goodness. You could especially because I assume Giada creates a lot of tokens because it's on ETB, correct? So you'd want a lot of angel tokens.
That's true. I'm sure there's lots of like should I take the cards? Sigil of the Empty Throne.
Yeah.
Court of Grace, I think, is another one.
Coup de grace? Is it coup de grace?
No,
Or Court of Grace.
Court of Grace. Sorry,
Court of
yes.
Grace, yes. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you're going to want to be creating a lot of angels. You're going to want a lot of angels on the ground. So yeah, you could actually, in this deck, relatively easily throw in like an Emrakul or I play Eldrazi and his name, Ulamog, in this deck and have, it's mono white, so you can have a Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, which is great for all of your permanents and that have the ticks, but you can also throw in that new land, 3 Tree City, I think.
Yes, from
Choosing,
Bloomburrow.
yeah, choosing angels, and then you have some batshit things happening. You have so much mana that you're just like, I'm going to play
Pish posh.
Emrakul or Ulamog as well as something else because I play white, and of course it's the number 44 out of 500 foil Ulamog.
From the
Money.
Gucci store.
Yeah. Of course I spent $4,000 on one card for this deck. Didn't you? Oh, sorry you're poor.
Yeah, having like Ulamog, any of them, but like specifically because of more recent, Ulamog the Defiler entering with like 20 +1/+1 counters because you have 20 other angels on the field is terrifying.
Well, he get, oh my.
And then
Yeah,
plus he gets
because-
+1/+1 counters from the highest CMC that was exiled with your opponent's half the deck.
Yeah, so
the
he would
ETB
get
trigger.
those counters, and then you're probably doing like a lot of proliferate stuff in this deck as well.
Correct.
So he would have like crazy amounts of Annihilator. Oh my goodness. Ulamog the Defiler in a Giada deck.
Ulamog the
about it.
Defiler says Annihilator, discard your entire deck.
Yeah, because he gets Annihilator X for
Yeah.
where X is how many counters are on him.
Yeah.
He would be terrifying in this deck. And in order to even target him, I think he's got ward, sack a creature, or discard a card or something. He has
Oh,
ward.
God. Ward.
he has.
I think
Ward.
it's sack a creature if I remember
think
correctly.
so, because that's more Eldrazi.
Yep.
Sack a creature than discard, but well, that's more Ulamog.
Ulamog. Yep.
I should say. I think Kozilek would be like discard a card.
I think, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
the new Emrakul, the World Anew, is Ward. No, sorry, that's Madness. That's a completely different mechanic.
Yeah, he has Madness.
Sorry,
6.
my bad.
It's 6 colorless mana
Yeah.
though, which is kind of a crazy, like, you only get that Madness cost in a colorless specific deck, which I think is actually kind of cool.
Mhm.
I think that's really neat. But anyways, I digress. I understand why Giada is the most popular. That actually sounds really fun, and I kind of want to build one.
I'm not gonna lie, the whole Ulamog thing that we were talking about seems mad appealing.
Yeah, well,
Look.
because I recently got Ulamog for my Eldrazi deck, my 6-color Eldrazi deck. I know colorless doesn't count as a color, but it's functionally a 6th color.
It's
and
gray.
It's functionally a
Gray is a
6
color.
color Eldrazi deck. Anyway, I got Ulamog, and the first time I played him, he just won me the game outright. Nobody could do anything. It was gross. I had a great time. Nobody else did. The way Magic is meant to be played.
Correct.
But yes, that was incredible, and I can't. Nobody would expect Ulamog to be your win con in an Angels deck.
Oh, for sure, because like it's chaotic. You're playing
Yeah,
Angels,
yeah.
and now all of a sudden Ulamog the Defiler rains down from the heavens above.
And another one that would be ridiculous in this would be Emrakul, the Promised End.
Ew.
Yeah.
And disgusting.
The worst, because sure, stealing all of your opponent's creatures, that's cool, I guess, but you only get it once in this particular deck. However, you take control of target player's turn or something like that.
It's been a while since I played against him, but I think so, something like that.
And like, I don't even think Teferi's Protection would protect against it. Because protection only grants from color. So that's one that the rulings are a little bit weird. Let's not get into it.
True.
We'll just say, for the time being, if you're like right now in this kind of game and you're like, oh, this exact thing's happening, just say Teferi's Protection works.
Mhm.
But that would be something I would need to research more. But that's just, you just get somebody's turn. It's kind of insane.
Very nice, very nice, very nice.
Yeah, Giada, Font of Hope. You can make that thing so busted, so dumb. I love it. I really love it.
It's
That
also
was
a
fun.
deck where I feel like even the more budget lists are still like really strong.
There's still like curb stomping.
Yes.
I feel like Giada, among other things, but Giada is definitely one of the reasons that that one angel is banned.
I own a Shield of Ameria.
I own a Shield of Ameria. That I have one of those. It's banned. It makes me very sad because I have multiple ways that I could create 5 of them, and then only I get to play. It's solitaire now.
I hate Solitaire. I'm so glad that card is banned. Truthfully.
I think Iona is one of the few cards that I'm like, yeah, that should be banned.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Because, like, this is, again, a different video. I'm going off topic because I'm tired. But I feel like Emrakul maybe doesn't need to be banned anymore. I have killed an Emrakul, the Promised End, when it was standard legal, with a 1/2 Death Touch Spider, and I made the dude rage quit the game.
There's a few cards on the ban list now where I'm just kind of like, does it need to be banned?
Because I don't like Emrakul is bullshit. Emrakul the Aeon's Torn is a very strong card,
Super strong.
but it's also a very expensive card. You're not going to be surprised when someone pays 15 mana, drops him down. There are things you can do. Sure, he has some crazy on-cast triggers. Like on-cast, he gets an extra turn.
Mhm.
Right? That's very strong. But if you're able to get rid of it before that extra turn,
Oh,
it's
for sure.
only Annihilator 6.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like a big part of the reason it was banned was because of that Annihilator 6. The new Ulamog has a higher Annihilator count on average than that.
Sure does.
Like, I think the first time I played it, it was like Annihilator 9 or something.
It's big.
It was huge. It
Massive.
was crazy. You were part of that game. It was insane.
I had a bad time.
I didn't. It was a great
Yeah,
game.
I
Let's
know.
do that again.
No.
But yeah, like, I don't think that Emrakul should still be banned because the extra turn thing is on theme. It's very expensive. And, like, you can just counterspell Emrakul and then they don't get to use it on the extra turn. They still get the
Very
extra
true.
turn because the cast went off.
Yep.
But they don't get that extra turn.
Very true.
Well,
Very true.
they do, but they don't get Emrakul for it.
Mhm.
And sure, Emrakul has flying, I believe. I think so. Yeah, because I needed the spider with reach. Death touch reach. Yeah. It was a deadly recluse.
Nice.
It felt
nice.
it felt great for me.
Goated Manticore.
He was not happy.
Who would win, a flying spaghetti monster hell bent on destruction, or
a
one creepy
tiny
crawly
little
boy?
Spider. It's a draw, believe it or not.
Crazy.
But yeah, we'll do a ban list episode later.
Yep.
I really strongly believe Emrakul shouldn't be banned. And like, he's still like a $20 card. He would be stupid expensive if he wasn't banned.
I have one just chilling in my boundary.
I'm so jealous. I really don't believe that card should be banned. I really
Fair.
don't, but that's a topic for another video. I have gone off topic. All right. So another mono white commander. What is the mono white commander you do? Tell me about
I'm
it.
so glad you asked. So my mono white deck that I run, sorry, I've had to adjust my chair, is Light Paw's Emperor's Voice. It is
Okay.
a 1 and a white. Kind of a common theme. The last one was also 1 and a white. Anyways, it's a 1 and a white 2/2. It has a rather large section of text on the card. Basically, what it says, whenever you cast an aura spell, Light Pause, the trigger goes off, you get to search your deck for another aura of equal or lesser mana value and attach it to Light Pause Emperor's Voice.
Oh dear.
So, Voltron, Aura Voltron, essentially, is what the deck does. If you don't stop it right away, I'm going to be swinging at you for like 21 commander damage on turn 3, turn 4.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I really don't.
It's a very strong deck, as the card suggests. Lots of auras, of course. Lots of like white enchantress cards as well. And of course, you have to have like a couple of stacks effects in there just to protect you.
Just a pillow fort yourself.
Yeah, just a nice
Let me guess. You got a ghostly
cherry on top.
prison in there.
Ghostly Prison, Sphere
knew
of
it.
Safety is my personal favorite.
Is that your pet card? The way Deadly Recluse is mine. Like, it takes so much effort on my part to not slot a Deadly Recluse into every single green deck I have.
feel that with like every enchantment deck I've ever played in my life with Sphere of Safety, because is it a 5-drop? Yes. Unfortunately, it's a 5-drop. But your opponent having to pay 1 for each enchantment you control in an enchantment deck to attack you,
Yeah, that's
they gotta pay like on average like 8 per creature, and they can't do that.
yeah, that's because actually that has happened to me in Sithis, Herald's Hand. I have had a lot, and Buddy was like, "All right, I'm gonna play my turn, cast a whole bunch of spells, and then swing for lethal." And I was like, "Dope. You gonna pay the hundreds of mana you need for that?" And he was like, "I just lost the game." And
I have to go take out a loan really quick.
Yeah, and then he did die next turn because always do your stuff second main phase. Just
Oh,
as
for
a
sure.
manner of speaking.
For
in
sure.
case, because all the time, unless you need it to buff your creatures for an attack, for a lethal attack, just save it for second main. Attack first, so that if you forget any attack triggers, they will remind you about them.
Mhm.
Your opponent will go, "Well, you gotta pay for my pillow fort. You have 10 mana per creature." And you're like, "Right, well, I can do that once. with my massive Esper Sentinel. I don't know why Esper Sentinel in this case, but my massive Esper Sentinel. Yes. So, and then if you have mana left over after combat, after all of these Pillow Fort effects, then start looking at doing your turn. And this also messes up people playing Rhystic Study. So that's a bonus for people who don't like Rhystic Study. It's just, you can mess them up by not casting any spells and making it nighttime as well, if that's in play.
Sure, for sure. Another thing I also like about Light Paws, and I guess the other commander decks that we've mentioned, because they're mono white, they have access to really cool combos. One of my personal favorite combos is Heliod Suncrown and Walking Ballista, as you may know. Another cool combo, although I don't recommend this one because it definitely tilts a lot of people, and rightfully so. I admit, the Mass Land Destruction guy is saying this combo is fucked up. Part of my language. It's Drannith Magistrate and Knowledge Pool.
What does it do?
So essentially, Knowledge Pool, I don't remember the exact text on it, but whenever you cast a spell, that spell gets put into exile, and so on with the rest of your spells, and you are only allowed to cast one card from exile per turn. Yourself included, mind you, or you're only allowed to cast spells from exile, something like that. Anyways, Drannith Magistrate states you cannot cast spells from anywhere except your hand.
Oh.
So your opponents literally cannot play the game, and you're just sitting there like, tee. Like I said, unless you want to be the most hated person at the table, please do not put that combo in your deck. But of course, if you want to, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to judge you. Your pod might, but that's okay because the card's pretty.
That is so mean on so many levels.
Yes.
If you have the choice, just don't put that in your deck. That is very mean.
I had to since remove that.
Also, if you do have that in your deck, please don't play it into a group that's gonna make you play out every single turn. Because I know people that will just be like, all right, you play out every single turn from here on out. And you're just wasting an hour looking for like a win con. If you even have one in there, please put a fucking win con in your deck. But
literally, at my LGS when I go sometimes, for commander nights, people would be like, here's the loop, I win. I'm like, cool. Can you present that loop, explain how the loop works, and like tell us how you win with said loop? They're like, oh, that takes a lot of time. You just want to shortcut it? I'm like, no, I don't. Why you ask? Because I'm a petty bitch. That's why.
I will make you put everything out at once. I will force you to do your full loop and show us why you win.
You're running out of space on your playmat? Here, use mine. You just blew up all my stuff anyways.
My stuff is gone. You're going to win this game. Yeah. And I know how this combo works. But I'm still going to be a petty little bitch and make you do everything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
I feel that. I have done that. It's very fun because they get a little bit salty when they're like, but I win. And I'm like, okay, well, show me you win. Prove it. That's why I have a very quick infinite combo. It's just mill your deck. Bruvac the Grandiloquent, mill your deck. Game over. All right, next.
True.
And I'm trying to figure out, I think I'm probably going to get rid of the casualty mill half your deck one for a tutor.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Get rid of the ones that target one person to tutor for something that'll just nuke the
target
table.
Everything, yeah, for sure.
Right?
Sure.
And then it's just it'll make the deck more fun. Like I could take out something else, but I think if I do it that way, more people will just have fun. Like it'll come out of nowhere, but everyone's gonna know it's either Persistent Petitioner's Thrumming Stone or Maddening Cacophony Bruvac.
Yeah, that's fair, man. That's fair.
And then it feels more fair than, well, you're getting annoying, so I'm gonna nuke your library.
Done.
Which I have straight up done to people.
I know.
I have been like,
I've been.
yeah.
I've been
probably done it to you.
many times.
You're getting scary, and I'm like, well, all I have in my hand is this nuke one person, so
I'm gonna to the shadow realm with your wares.
you can watch the next hour of this Commander game. Well, if that had been a tutor, I just would have won.
Yeah.
We could have gone next.
For sure.
So,
So on topic.
back on topic. My bad.
Chase, what is your mono white commander? What's your mono white deck you like to use?
I play Preston the Vanisher. And this
Spicy.
is actually, like I was saying earlier, mono white goes infinite very easily. When I first pulled Preston out of the Jumpstart 2022, I was with a buddy, and my buddy was like, wait a minute. He looked at it, and he grabbed another Angel card and Felidar Sovereign. And he was like, these two cards just go infinite. Felidar Sovereign, Preston the Vanisher. Do you want to build a deck around it? And I was like, that sounds so cool. Let's do that.
I love like finding an infinite combo by yourself, because like the best way to explain it, in my opinion, is like cavemen rubbing sticks together for the first time and just fire.
Straight up, like if I had a stick, I'm like, like that's exactly how it feels, and you're never going to look at finding your own combos the same now.
True,
but that's how it feels.
Yep.
It's very funny, and it just feels very, very good to go. That combo works. Dope. We're putting this in everything now. Like it's like that hot sauce. I put that shit on everything.
Frank's Red.
That's the one. Yeah.
Not sponsored.
Not a sponsor. Yeah, so Preston is mono white. He is built around, and he is not by any means optimal. There are no tutors in him. There is no way to find the combo. I have Esper Sentinel, and I have the dog, and that is the only card draw to get to my combo. So it's literally just, I'm not a threat. I am playing the game. I am happy. I don't even have strong creatures out. I have a couple of commons that, like, when it entered, I gained 2 life, and nothing's happening. I haven't cast Preston all game. And then I pull my Felidar Sovereign, or there's one Wispweaver Angel, I believe. I think that's the other combo piece.
I think so.
Yeah. And all I have to do is play them and then flicker them once, and they go infinite. And that is the whole deck. I go infinite with whatever's already on the board. So I'll try to get like infinite creatures, and that's how I've killed myself, because I got infinite of the little dogs, because the little dogs were the only thing I had at the time. And I was like, well, fuck it. I just want to show that my deck can go infinite, and I drew myself out and died immediately. It was very, very funny. I've done the same thing with Esper Sentinel. I created infinite Esper Sentinels, and then someone played a spell next turn, and I just died immediately. And like they had a counterspell in hand, but they're like, why would I counterspell that when he just dies next turn? It was incredible strategy. Truly. Because at the time I didn't notice. I was just like, you have to pay infinite or I draw a card. No, you have to pay infinite or I draw infinite cards.
Value, baby.
Yeah, it's not great. And like I know it's like you have to set a number. Like per rules, I have to be like, oh, it's 5 billion. But you're not paying 5 billion mana. I'm sorry. And I don't have near 5 billion cards in my collection. Fair. I don't even think 5 billion cards over the course of Magic have been printed. That's a lot of cards.
That is a lot of cards, but like now I'm genuinely curious because I don't actually know.
I have been doing that a lot this episode, just throwing out random things and calling them fact. My bad. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted and I'm very nervous for next week, and that kind of combination is just like because I off topic once again. I am emceeing a very large concert in my area next week. There are going to be thousands of people in attendance, just looking at me with a microphone going, hey guys, do you want to hear a dad joke? No? Alright, here's the band. Dope. But yeah, Preston is not he's not a strong deck. He's very fun to play against because when he goes infinite, it's not even a guaranteed win. I just went infinite and I was like, I went infinite, I win. And it usually loses. Like if you've got a board wipe in hand, that infinite combo is gone and I have to rebuild and it sucks. There is no recursion. It is white. White does not have a lot of graveyard recursion. So it sucks if you nuke my board and I have to rebuild. But it still wins games. It's just super jank, and I could totally make it better. I could totally make it more consistent and like a power level 9 if I wanted. But I don't, because I think you should have a variety of power level decks that you can just be like, oh, this is power level 1. We're playing in a power level 1 pod. None of us are going anywhere for the next 5-6 hours.
A surprise.
Yeah. But yeah, Preston's a fun deck. It goes infinite. And even when it doesn't, it's white. And all of the lands are worth like $10 a piece because money. Yeah. I'm not particularly proud of that, but
like those Dominaria United stained glass ones, just
they're so gorgeous,
so good. Man.
I don't think did they make those in foil? I don't have one in foil.
Oh yeah, I'm currently searching for the forest for my Marwyn the Nurturer deck. Yeah. Which I will be covering on the Mono Green episode anyways.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. Yeah. If we get our audio figured out,
please, for the love of God.
We're at a point where we're just hoping the audio works. So 100%. If you're hearing this episode, the audio did work.
Correct.
If you're not,
take 3. I don't know.
My bad. Technical difficulties. Anyway, what are some of the staples that you can encounter in mono white?
Some of the established mono white. Established.
No.
First one is that comes to mind is Path to Exile. 1-drop instant. Exile target creature. Its controller searches their library for a basic land and it enters tapped. Exile normally better than destroy. Truthfully,
that's fair.
Also, this card, while you shouldn't do this often, this card actually has a decent amount of utility.
Yeah.
If you're in mono white and you're behind on lands,
which it can happen. It's not particularly uncommon for this to happen. And even if you're not playing mono white, if you're not drawing any ramp, you can absolutely path one of your tokens. Or
like one of your weaker creatures, just go find a plains.
Yeah, because the top of my head, I think it just says target creature. I don't think it specifies control.
No, it doesn't. So you destroy target creature. Its owner goes searching for a land. So if that's your token or creature, obviously its controller is you.
Yep.
So
absolutely, I just Googled it on my phone, and it does not state that it has to be an opponent. So absolutely, you can use it as ramp for yourself.
Mm-hmm. The next one I can think of is very similar. It just does something a little different. Swords to Plowshares. Again, another white 1-drop instant.
Mm-hmm.
Exile target creature. However, this time its controller gains 3 life.
Okay.
Which again, there's some utility to that. You need 3 extra life before your upkeep to win with like a Felidar Sovereign or a Test of Endurance. On your opponent's end step, just boop one of your creatures, and then on your upkeep you have 40 life, you win.
Yeah, but that's very niche.
Very niche, very rare, but it can happen, damn it.
It is, it can. And like that would be, if you have a story like that, please let us know. That sounds like the most clutch thing that could ever happen, and I want to hear about it.
And for sure, in my opinion, the Path to Exile has a little more utility than the swords, but
Path to Exile can also be political.
Can also be very political, yes.
Right? Because it can be like, hey, my opponent is land screwed, and this happens.
Correct.
And you can be like, all right, I'm going to make a deal with you. I don't know what's happening in this imaginary game, but you can make a deal, get them a land, let them shuffle, and then suddenly maybe they're mana flooded. And then that's very funny that it went the other
name of
way.
the podcast.
I said the name of the thing. but yeah, you can use it in a very political way. If one of your, like, I have had so many games where my opponents aren't necessarily land screwed, but they're missing one color of land to get their commander out or to play a bunch of cards in their hand. And you can just go, Path to Exile. Now you get that. I got rid of something strong on your end, but now you get to play the game more. And that is very, very good for politic purposes, but it's also good at keeping new players interested in the game.
Yep.
Because it can be so frustrating when it's like it's your first game of Magic or one of your first games of Magic the Gathering, and you're playing and you just can't play this really cool commander that you built because maybe you built your deck not great. You're not great at deck building. It's the first one you built, and you're not getting enough of a certain color of land. Well, your opponent now Path to Exiles, and you get that last color you need for your commander. Suddenly you can play the game is fun, and you're super happy, and you go, ha, he fell into my trap. He thought that was the problem, but now I get my land. Meanwhile, you as the player who pathed, you're like, man, this guy needs this land. He's not having fun. Let's let his deck do the thing. Let's let him have fun.
Yep.
Right? So Path, just as a card, has so much more utility. And like, Swords to Plowshares is also funny because you can last second save somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
Also as a politic thing.
Yep, sure could.
Right?
Sure
so
could.
it's like, oh, they're about to get run over by creatures to the exact, because I know I personally love making it exactly 0 just to be like,
It's so satisfying.
It is. But then someone Path to Exiles one of that guy's creatures and now he's got 3 life and I'm like, oh, curses.
Wasn't for you meddling kids.
Fairy godparents.
Fairies!
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so another staple in white.
Generous gift. Some people might say a little worse than the last two. I personally say a little better, just because the last two are a creature exclusive. This one simply just states destroy target permanent.
Which is
Its controller makes a 3/3 green elephant. Card is white, but makes green elephant. There we go.
it's very strange. It's allowed in mono white.
Yes.
It says green. The
Sure
color
does.
pip of green does not show up on the
Yes.
card.
Destroy target permanent, in my opinion, is much better than exile target creature. Simply because the ability to target pretty much anything on board. You know, if they have a Caverner Souls, that's letting them just play creatures without them being countered, you know. Grr. Grr.
Oh, that really just gets my
That really
goat.
grinds my gears. Grr. You can just go boop, destroy the Caverner Souls.
Yeah. Which is
Destroys lands,
crazy.
artifacts, enchantments, literally any permanent.
Targeted
Unless it
land
has, like,
destruction.
Shrouder hexproof, of
Yeah.
course,
But targeted land destruction can be so strong and is so underutilized in Commander in general, right? Like if you have something like this where you can target a land if need be, it is just so incredibly strong.
Yes.
And it's funny that so far we're going to be naming 8 staples. So far 3 of them are removal in white, and it's just removal in general in any color kind of instantly becomes a staple.
yes, for sure. Also, if I talk about destroying lands in the 3rd episode, slap me, please, because like I need to stop.
Well, that's gonna be our 3rd episode's gonna be like rules and beginner stuff. So if you just go Armageddon, bitch,
Stone Rain noobs.
maybe we should have just called the podcast Armageddon Tribal.
There's still time.
There's
Still time.
It's time for a rebranding. All right.
All right.
What is the 4th?
Yes. The 4th one is actually a very much a more recent one. It's an uncommon. I believe it is a 3 and a white, so a 4-drop. It's from Modern Horizons 3. It's called Witch Enchanter. It is a dual-faced card. So on the other side is just a white land, I believe. Tap it, produce a white. Great.
So if you put this card in your deck, don't use clear sleeve.
For the love of God.
I saw that happen on, I think it was not a sponsor, one of Prof's videos.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I feel, so going off on a slight tangent here, I feel so bad for people that play like Tovlar, like the werewolf dude, because flipping your cards all the time must be a pain in the ass.
It would, especially if they're expensive, I would be so scared.
Sure.
Like, even just having them in a sleeves, like I'm planning, once I've got the studio set up, I'm planning on celebrating by buying like a Mana Crypt for my Eldrazi deck. And I'm so scared of just having that in that deck because that one card is so expensive. I'm just going to be like...
Chase putting it into the sleeve like...
Yeah, no, for real though. Because like I plan on getting all of the fast mana for that deck because and I know if you're listening at home, you're probably like, wow, he wants fast mana in an Eldrazi deck? What an asshole. But the reason I want this is because I genuinely believe that if I get all of this fast mana, Eldrazi will become a super, super fun arch enemy deck.
Yep, for sure.
Specifically Commander Arch Enemy, because that is coming soon.
Yeah, they're really pushing it with the Duskmourn Commander Precons, I believe. So
Yeah, so whenever that releases, I don't have release dates off the top of my head. But whenever that happens, that is going to be a thing, and it's going to be super cool, super fun.
I'm excited.
Can't wait to have a deck of schemes with Emrakul.
Yes. Sorry. Witch Enchanter.
Yes.
So its backside, you can play it as a tap land.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a tap land. Sure. I don't know, man. But you tap it for a white mana. Its front side, however, the Witch Enchanter part of the card. ETB, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Great.
Another removal.
Another removal.
Right. So half of them.
Half of
are
them.
removable.
Yes. That's pretty much all that the card does. It's pretty self-explanatory, and if you're behind on lands, you can always play it on the backside. Duh.
Yeah.
Our the fifth card on this list is a very good card. It actually went down in price pretty drastically recently because it was reprinted in
It's been
Commander
reprinted
Masters
to death.
Yes, and then again in Modern Horizons 3, which it also got some really cool artwork for the mono white players.
And it's one of those cards that will creep back up in value after a couple of months.
For sure.
Just
for
going,
sure.
the demand is, right now, the demand is high, but the supply is there.
Mhm.
So it's very cheap
Yes.
as of recording this, but guaranteed a couple of months, it's going to be back up there.
Oh, it'll start going back up for
Right?
sure.
Especially because the reprints have a lot of pretty arts and oh, they're gorgeous. They really are. Anyway, the card is Pearl Medallion.
Yes.
It is-
Pearl Medallion is a artifact. It is a 2 or a 3-drop. Pretty sure it's a 2-drop.
2.
It simply states your white spells cost 1 generic mana less to cast.
Yes. And this is, in these monocolor episodes, this is the only time we're going to mention a medallion. Not because they're not staples in other colors, but because there is one for each color. We want to highlight different cards and make it a little bit more interesting than kind of like everyone waiting, like, oh, where's the medallion? Where? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, so like of course the other monocolors have one too. Red has ruby, blue has sapphire, green has emerald, and then black has jet medallion. There we go.
It is jet.
So you will hear about them in this episode. They do the exact same things, just with their corresponding colors. So
one generic
yes,
mana less to cast permanents. No, just spells. Spells of that color.
yes,
Which is very strong in any monocolor deck. Obviously, it doesn't work on colorless spells. There's no colorless medallion, which would be cool.
would be very cool. But I feel like there's also
There's enough things in colorless that are like, reduce the cost of your spells by this much. Like, there's like Urza's Workshop.
Urza's Incubator. even though I
Or
think
that's the one,
for
Urza's
creatures,
Incubator, yeah. That's creatures, right? There's a whole bunch of different ones that are like, make colorless spells much cheaper.
Also, you're playing like so many mana rocks.
Yeah.
You don't
Because
need
you
one.
can have them all.
Yeah,
You
literally.
You don't need one. It's just, it would be nice to have another thing I could drop down and be like,
With pretty artwork.
Ugin
Ugin the Ineffable.
Ugin. Yeah. He's MVP was printed in a precon. Very expensive precon. But he's printed in a precon, so.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well,
moving on the list.
moving right along. before I get
These
distracted.
I can't speak. These last three is what I was trying to say, not these next three. Are a little more expensive for sure, but they are very good in any deck with white. First one we are going to cover is Esper Sentinel.
Yeah.
It is a 1-drop artifact human soldier. Not sure how that works quite yet.
And it is a white. It is a white pip. You do have to pay 1 white for Esper Sentinel.
Yes.
But whenever an opponent casts a non-creature, their first non-creature spell of the turn,
they have to pay
Esper Sentinel's power.
equal to Esper Sentinel's power. Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
And if they don't, you get to draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were kind of saying earlier, white's unfortunately really bad at drawing cards. But luckily Esper Sentinel, printed in Modern Horizons 2, I believe, was printed to kind of help that situation. And again, because there's so little draw support for mono white, it's kind of what makes the card so expensive. Like, it is just a very good card, especially to have out on like turn 1.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
You get it turn 1, then you're like, even if someone removes it, you get a trigger off of it to draw a card, and they can't do a whole lot. It's a very, very strong card. It's very fun to play. It feels bad when it gets removed, but if you're playing something that's super strong like Esper Sentinel or Rhystic Study or any of those cards, they're going to be a high priority for removal.
In my opinion, truthfully, even if like you played Esper Sentinel and it gets removed like turn 3, turn 4, which is still in most cases like pretty early in the game, I still think you've gotten enough value out of it.
Yeah, you're usually going to draw at least 1 card, even if people are trying to budget for it.
Yep.
Just because you're playing white and people tend to underestimate white a lot.
Yes.
So they'll be like, I can let the mono white player draw a couple of cards while I wait to remove the Esper Sentinel. Or something that's very common is people will tap out their mana to use the removal spell.
Yes.
Right? And then they don't have enough to pay.
Yes.
So that is also something that I have seen happen multiple times. And even if you only get 1 draw off of it, it was 1 mana draw card.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get multiple draws, and you usually do.
For sure.
So as long as you're drawing at least 1 card off of Esper Sentinel or doing 1 point of damage, it was worth it.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Because you can drop Esper Sentinel, turn 2, hit somebody who hasn't had any creatures out yet. And then they just go... It kind of just feels bad because it's like, why are you attacking with an Esper Sentinel? Stop it. It hurts my feelings.
Sir, this is assault.
Yeah. And Esper Sentinel gets better if you can put on like a hexproof or if you can buff it up with counters.
Yeah.
Because then it gets more expensive and it becomes something where you always get to draw.
Little throwback to light buzz. I like attaching auras to my Esper Sentinel.
Yeah.
And then because I'm still casting an aura, the light pod trigger goes off and I get 2 different aura on light buzz. Beautiful.
Classic. Yeah,
beautiful.
That's a thing that I'm not even surprised you would do. We should do a...
Have fun paying 10, nerd.
That sounds like a nightmare. I think we should just do, like, when we get... Sorry, my brain's all over the place. I'm exhausted.
Valid, man.
When we get our cameras, we should do all mono white Commander game.
Oh, I'm so down.
That sounds fun.
I think that'd be amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
I think that'd be so cool, man.
Because we know... there's no way you and I are the only people we know with mono white decks.
I would assume not, no.
Yeah. We'll just put out a call in one of our Discords and someone will be like, oh, yeah. That sounds cool as hell. We'll be there.
Yeah, and you know what? Even the people that we pick, if they don't have a mono white deck, I'm gonna bully them into making a mono white deck.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
So we'll get. Like,
I don't condone bullying people into making Magic the Gathering decks, but
if they play,
and you
need them for content, it's fair game.
I need you for content. Make the deck, nerd.
Do it, pussy.
Mana flip, no.
Yeah. Okay, so the next kind of expensive card is one, if you haven't heard of, you have to have been living under a rock. And
Very true.
it's very powerful. It is Smothering Tithe. It is a 3 and a white for every time an opponent draws a card, they may pay 2. If they don't, you create a treasure token. It has been nerfed the tiniest bit with the printing of that squirrel. The one that every time you sack an artifact,
Squirrel.
you get a poison counter.
Oh,
The squirrel. Yeah.
that bastard.
Deep Root Apothecary, I want to say.
I think so. Something like that.
Something like that. Like, that just came to me. That's probably wrong, but
I think that's right.
the card will be up here anyway. If you're watching the video, the card's going to be up and around this area. But yeah, that one is... That card in general, it's kind of like a green staple now. It's actually very, very, very strong.
Stupid good.
Yeah.
Stupid good for sure.
It counters a lot of the strongest cards in Magic right now. It
Oh, sure.
counters Dockside Extortionist pretty hard, right? Like, you can't, due to the nature of mana abilities, you can't be like, surprise, you're dead. But it's still very
Yeah.
strong.
For sure,
Right?
man.
It's a huge deterrent.
Yep.
And it shuts down a lot of decks by just having it. It's probably one of those cards that's actually so strong it needs to be disclosed in a Rule 0 conversation. I would go on a limb and say that
Yeah.
it's that strong, right? Like, it's stronger than Smothering Tithe and Dockside for that reason alone, that it shuts down so many game plans for so many different decks.
That's
Like,
valid.
Smothering Tithe, Dockside are annoying to see. You go, but they don't stop you from playing the game.
Yeah.
This one can straight up stop like a treasure deck or a blood deck or a food deck. It can just shut down that deck from playing the
Yep.
game. But that's a green card. We're not talking green. We're talking Smothering Tithe. And this card is awesome. I love this card
This card is great.
so much.
Beautiful.
It is the sole reason my Eldrazi deck, that Ulamog, was played on turn like 4. It was
I don't want to
insane.
talk about it.
Okay, you don't have
That
to.
was
I'm
brutal.
going to talk about
All
it.
right, sounds
Okay,
good.
so John borrowed my Sholdred the Apocalypse deck.
Yes.
And Sholdred has a lot of like draw extra cards. I'm a group hug. We're friends. But Sholdred also deals 2 damage every time you draw an extra card. Which, what I ended up doing was I kept removing Sholdred, and you played a Howling Mine, which is draw during your upkeep, draw a
Draw an
card,
extra card,
and then
yep.
you draw in your draw step.
Yep.
So everyone was drawing 2 cards per turn. And you played that turn 2?
I think so. It was early, yeah.
Yeah, and I played Smothering Tithe on curve. So turn 4.
Immediate regret.
Yeah, so by the time it came back to me, I had more than enough mana for Ulamog.
Yeah.
Because nobody could afford to pay to
No.
stop me from getting treasures.
No.
So the Eldrazi player, it was turn 5, I'm sorry, but a turn 5 Ulamog, the Defiler, that was game. The game was over. There was nothing anybody could
Very,
do.
very good. It felt so bad.
It felt great.
Because I was like, yeah, Howling Mine, let's go. And then you were
My
like, Smothering
deck's
Tithe? I'm like,
doing-
oh, no.
You were like, my deck's doing the thing. And I was like, I think not, actually.
Exile half of your library, please.
It was awesome. It was such a good game. Smothering Tithe won me that game,
Yep.
hands down. That was just a weird combo, though. But, like, Smothering Tithe,
It's good, man.
if you've got, for whatever reason, a white card draw deck with the Howling Mine in there, Smothering Tithe.
Yes, for sure.
Teferi's Puzzle Box, another card that is insane with Smothering Tithe.
Nuts.
That's like, pay 14 mana or I get 7 treasure tokens. Like, that's crazy.
Excuse me?
Fucking what?
Um,
Are you sure?
Our next and final card on the staples list, which is also expensive, mind you. It's not that bad anymore, actually. It just has a lot of printings, and they're all pretty.
They're gorgeous.
adhering to the mono white stereotypes. The other game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's called Teferi's Protection. It is a 2 and a white
Yes.
instant. Basically, it grants you protection from everything. You cannot take damage. You cannot lose life. I don't know about that second part actually, but anyways.
Your life total cannot change.
Yes, your life total cannot change, and then all your permanents, your entire board, and you phase out until either the end of your end step or the beginning of your next upkeep.
Beginning of your next upkeep.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. Which is, it's super strong, but it is not the I'm safe for a turn card people think it is. For instance, if you have a commander that says this commander's damage cannot be prevented, and you hit the person who used Teferi's Protection, the command damage still goes through.
Yes. To be fair, you're not super likely to run into anything like that, but like
It's
it
not-
does
Yeah.
happen.
And if there's things that target all players, like a Maddening Cacophony, you are not by any means safe. Your library is not safe from mill.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things that people will get salty about. I have seen people get salty about. And it's just the way the card's worded. It's not an I'm Immortal card, but it is a very strong, if not one of the strongest protection cards in the game.
Yes.
It's crazy strong.
Super
It really
strong.
is.
And the fact that it's at instant speed.
Yeah. It's
Crazy.
it's nutty.
Somebody can be like, I'm gonna wipe the board, and you're like, not mine.
no.
I'm good actually. I'm okay.
Yeah, you can wipe everyone else's board, and then I'll come in and win the game.
Huh?
Which is often actually what happens with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like-
100%.
Like, that's kind of how it's used. It's like, wait for someone else to board wipe, and then Teferi's Protection. Or, a very, very, very funny thing I've seen happen before. Armageddon, Teferi's Protection.
Yes. One of the cards not mentioned in this list, but it is one of my favorite cards. Is actually I think I mentioned it in the last episode. Cosmic Intervention. You can foretell it. I can't remember the foretell cost off the top of my head, but essentially states if a card were to hit your graveyard, that card comes back at the beginning of your end step onto your board. So you can Armageddon in response, cast your foretelled Cosmic Intervention. All those lands you destroyed, they just come back.
There's a lot of ways in White specifically to negate your own mass land destruction
it's
and just
beautiful.
mess everybody else up. It's
Beautiful.
very mean. Please don't build decks around mass land destruction.
Or do.
But also you can, and it's very easy to win with them. You're just not going to have many friends, or you're going to have people who are like, okay, you win, you get to sit there while we play the rest of the game and don't talk to you or look at you or let you have any of the pizza. Like, don't pour a glass of pop because fuck you.
It's like you were there. It's crazy.
Yeah. That is just how mass land destruction
Truly,
is resolved in
truly.
general.
Truly. Moving on to our last topic.
And I must say this was going super fast in the beginning, but we are up to about an hour now. So we can kind of
We're gonna
hurry it up right
Yeah.
along. We're gonna kind of squish it all together.
yes.
This one should be last because it's fitting.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so
So basically, our
outlier cards are cards that don't fit what the card normally does. And so the first two that come to mind are two that were in the staples: Esper Sentinel and Smothering Tithe. Neither of those do stereotypically white things.
Correct.
Right? But they are inexplicably, like, the Smothering Tithe feels like maybe, other than white, I feel like it would be like a red. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel quite, or, you know what? No, it would be like a 2-color card. That's what it feels more
I could also
like white, blue.
I could also see it being in black, if I'm being honest, because black does have a lot of treasure cards, but then again, black is more like you sack a creature or a creature dies or something along those lines, and
Yeah.
you make a treasure. So
Yeah, but I get
Red.
Smothering Tithe being like a white-blue card, not just mono-white.
it is very taxy.
Right?
So,
Yeah. So white-blue, that's the one, that's what its color identity feels more like. Right? And Esper Sentinel, it says Esper in the name, but it's mono-white.
White, blue, black.
Yeah,
But
no,
it's just white.
Yeah, so explain that one, wizards. But
Actually, Esper is a plane in Magic the Gathering.
oh my god, it's also a color identity.
Yeah.
So fuck you. Get out of here with your nerdiness. Although, I mean, I think that's the whole point of this podcast. but
True,
still.
we are talking about Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, that
Yes.
is fair. And then the last one, Archivist of Ogma.
Yes, Archivist of Ogma is a 1 and a white 2/2. I think it's a halfling cleric. It's from Baldur's Gate. I don't know, man.
Fair enough.
Has flash. So for those of you who are fairly new to Magic, flash essentially means you can cast it at instant speed. It doesn't have to be sorcery speed,
That's
which
nice.
is very good,
Really like
especially
that.
when I read this card. Whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain 1 life and draw a card.
And that's 2 mana?
2 mana.
That
Flash.
feels, the gain 1 life, yes, but that also feels like white-blue.
Yeah, very much.
That doesn't feel like mono-white. That,
That feels
like white-blue.
very. I mean, I guess it doesn't feel like super stacksy because they're not really
You're not...
paying for anything.
Yeah.
But like, search your library. Oh, thanks. I gained a life. I draw a card. Seems
At
very good.
flash speed, so you can actually react this to someone cracking an Evolving Wilds or a fetch land of any kind,
Yeah.
or a tutor. You can just go drawing cards, which is niche.
Niche, but like.
You're still going to encounter this at least a couple of times in a
Oh,
game.
for sure. There's fetch lands, as you were saying. Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, Myriad Landscape, tutors.
Tutors.
People
yeah.
tutor for their combo. You can be like, cool. I'm gonna hopefully draw into something to negate that combo.
You tutor? That sucks. I'm going to draw a single card and hope for the best. Get fucked.
A plane. Perfect.
I got Mana Flooded. Oh, that's twice.
Ow!
We love that.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. And the last one is very fitting.
Yes. The last one is called Farewell. I know. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow.
This is a board wipe in mono white. It's actually incredibly strong because it is the only board wipe in the game that works like this. Essentially, what Farewell does for, I believe, it's a bit more expensive. It's 4 colorless and 2 white pips specifically.
Yeah.
It's a modal board wipe, meaning it has different modes. You can choose one or all of them if you so choose. And it simply states, choose one or more of the modes. Exile all artifacts, exile all creatures, exile all enchantments, and exile all graveyards.
Just had to throw that graveyard hate in there.
Right?
That's
Which,
so
thank
toxic.
God, because I hate Muldrotha decks with a burning passion. But
That's 2 episodes we've mentioned Muldrotha
Correct.
as well. Holy. Yeah, it's definitely a very, very strong board wipe. And it's white. White exiles. And so you would think, well, that's very on theme for white. But I think just the raw power of Farewell
so strong,
is what
dude.
makes it an outlier. Because, like we said, for a long time, white was seen as the weak
Yep.
color in
the
Magic.
weaker color. And
Right? It had a couple of things that you wanted, like life gain, but it wasn't. You don't make monocolored white
Mhm.
decks unless you're us, because we're crazy. But
look, some of them are
they're very
cool.
strong
Okay.
now. There's a lot of cards. They're very cool. They're fun
Yep.
to play.
Yep.
They're a little bit slower, sure, but this is just like another level of just raw power. Like I could see if you change the word exile to destroy, I would say this is like a red or a black card.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
And like when I say like it is the only board wipe in the game that works like this, like that is not an exaggeration. Most all other board wipes I don't even think there's a single one. I could be very wrong on this, but even a single one that says exile, all creatures on board. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure like it's literally just farewell that does that alone.
Yeah. Yeah, because even Armageddon is destroy all lands.
Yeah, I think the only one that like potentially comes close is Austere Command, and like I said, that doesn't even exile. But it does have multiple modes, but I believe you can only choose 2. That has things like destroy creatures with CMC 2 or less, creatures with CMC 4 more, artifacts, enchantments, that kind of stuff.
I think it's artifact and enchantment.
But farewell literally just like is so powerful, like a hard resets the game.
Yeah.
And I
it's
know
another one of those things where you can just be like, Teferi's Protection. Boop. Farewell, Teferi's Protection. I win the game next turn.
Yeah.
It's even when it's not combined with something else, it's like, oh, I'm behind. I need time to rebuild. Here we go.
It kind of sorry,
and,
go ahead.
Well, the nice thing is because it like the exile does fit into White's color identity.
Oh, for sure.
But the power again doesn't. And the nice thing about this is it will give you time to rebuild. It will completely screw people with graveyard recursion. White doesn't even have. I can't think of any white graveyard recursion cards off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a couple. I'm sure there is. Based on your stupid face, there's at least one really good one. But it's not something you think of when you think white.
Yep.
So just hating on graveyards, getting rid of all of them, really screws over a lot of game plans. Mm-hmm. Even just getting rid of these creatures, you can take anger out of someone's graveyard and just go, "Hey, fuck you!" Like
I know in my Lipos deck, especially, you play a farewell, I am cooked. Because Lipos, has access to cards like Brilliant Restoration, which is like return all of your enchantments from your graveyard to the battlefield, or Open the Vaults, which states return all, unfortunately, all, so that's including your opponents, but return all enchantments and artifacts to the battlefield from graveyards. So if you exile my graveyard, some of my Strong Auras, if they're in my graveyard, they're gone.
So you have a lot of anti-board wipes.
Yes.
It's the opposite of a board wipe.
For sure.
You build a board.
Yes. In my opinion, Farewell, unfortunately, also sees a lot of hate just because unless you have like something like a Teferi's Protection, it really does hard reset the game in a similar fashion, in my opinion, that like Armageddon resets the game.
Or Karn. Where it's just straight up start the game over. It's very similar to that. It will drag the game out.
Yeah. People are like, this game's going on for a long time. I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah. Like, my deck can't do the thing anymore because everything's exiled and now I'm upset and angry. And like, that's fair. That's valid. You're allowed to be upset. But at the same time, there's no denying that Farewell is an exceptionally good strategy in Magic the Gathering.
And I said it last episode when we were talking about mass land destruction, and I will say it again. If what you are doing, if that's Farewell, if that's Armageddon, if that's something else that makes people salty, if it is helping you or giving you a chance to win that game, do it.
Yeah.
Don't listen to what other people say. Yes, you obviously don't want to like make them feel bad or hurt their feelings or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's Magic the Gathering.
Someone has to win.
And you're playing in the pod, so you may as well try to win. And if that means farewelling the entire board, by all means.
And of course, if you're also like, this game's taking too long and I want to go home, don't play the Farewell. Don't put yourself in that situation.
Very true.
It's like it's okay to put your opponents in that situation, but to do it to yourself is like
torture.
Next level masochism. Like, what are you doing?
It's not a fun time. I've made that mistake literally once, and that one time was enough for me.
Yeah. Because it does elongate the game. Like, if you're going to die next turn and you have no other options and you still want to play, you have a good hand, or there's still things you want to do in the game, before you're taken out next turn, play a Farewell, restart the game. You might actually, depending on who you're playing with, you might just make some people scoop. They might just be like, hey, you know what? I would rather be anywhere but here. I'm gonna go.
Hey, you know what? My mom said we were gonna have McDonald's for supper, so I'm gonna scoop. I'll go eat some McNuggets. Not sponsored.
Not a sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is, yeah. I'm running out of steam here, so I guess
Same. Very much same.
we're just gonna end the podcast. I
Yes.
think. Again, I am From the Flood. You can find me on Twitch. You can find me on X. Most of the time, you'll just find me editing this podcast.
Very fair. I am Parmesan. You can find me on X at Parmesan TV. You will also be able to find me on TikTok and Instagram soon under the same handle. I will update that in a video once that stuff is made. So
If you want to contact the podcast, if you have any business things or anything like that, you can contact us at floodedmanapool@gmail.com. You can also find our ats on all of the big platforms now. We built a TikTok. We haven't added anything to it yet, but we've built a TikTok. We have X. I'll probably make a Facebook at some point because that's something we don't have, and I've been tired. I don't, but we'll make one of those. All of our ats are at Flooded Manapool, where we're keeping it consistent, and also Mana Flood was taken. So
unfortunately,
we should have made this podcast years ago. Oopsie doopsie.
oopsie doopsie.
But yes, and once again, I would like to say a huge thank you to Nom Honey for the incredible intro and the incredible outro, which you're going to hear right now.
Thank you for listening to the Mana Flood podcast. Any references to companies or other content creators in this episode are done strictly out of love for the brand, as we are not sponsored. If you would like to contact us, our email is floodedmanapool@gmail.com or find us on X at floodedmanapool. You can also contact the host directly at From the Flood or at Parmesan. Have a good day. Bye.